And for those who are here in the studio, I know we've been sitting up on blocks. You're always welcome to sit up on blocks. I actually had a teacher who would not let us sit on blankets. We only could sit on blocks. I like the blankets better. They are cushier for my bum. And I like comfort, especially coming out of this year. I'm going for ease. So you can feel free to use blankets, bolsters. All right, have a seat up on a lift. Cross your legs in the center of your shins. Feet beneath your knees, shoulders over your hips. See that you're not leaning forward, not leaning back. Lift up through the torso. Even though we're going to go through the body and do the corrections like we do, but even just as you sit, can you check in with the two sides of your body, and are you on one side, or are you finding an evenness? Can you seek an evenness even before we begin? Or at least an acknowledgement of that one side may not be the same, equal to the other side. And then bringing your awareness to your sits bones, finding that even balance of the sits bones. And after each instruction, which isn't about the instruction, it's about the adjustment that you make and then the effects of the adjustment. So after each adjustment and witnessing the effects, I recommend coming back to the sit bones and making sure you're still balanced evenly, because often you'll give that up to do something else. And I'm suggesting you don't give that up. Lengthen through the inner groins, from the inner thighs through the inner knees, from the upper inner thighs, also lengthening towards the lower abdomen, that whole area between the knees and the lower abdomen lengthening. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs. Drawing from the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. Maintain the compacting of the hips even as you lengthen through the inner thighs. Are you still balanced evenly on your sits bones? Lengthen through the side ribs. Take the front bottom ribs towards the back body. Lengthen through the side ribs. Release your shoulders down and away from the sides of your neck. Are you still balanced evenly on the sits bones? Lengthen from the armpits through the inner elbows. Let the elbows descend. Bring the palms together to touch, the thumbs touching the sternum. Using the thumbs to gently lift the flesh of the sternum. Allow that to rise up. Allow the top of the back of the shoulders to release down. Are you still balanced evenly on the sits bone? See that the palms touch evenly left to right, right to left. You don't need to press hard. Sometimes we'll say it's as if they're touching and not touching at the same time. But there's an evenness to them. Soften all of your facial features. Close your eyelids from top to bottom. Rest your eyes into your cheekbones and gaze at the seat of your heart, the seat of your soul. Are you still balanced evenly on the sit bones? Begin to notice the quality of your breath, the quantity of your breath, noticing how your breath flows. Let's chant the syllable Om 3 times together, exhaling completely. Deep inhalation. Om. 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 Lifting your sternum towards the ceiling, lower your chin towards your heart. Release your hands onto your thighs with your palms up. With your eyes closed, raise your head. From the back of your head, gently let your eyelids open. All right, let's start an Adho Mukha Virasana, child's pose going forward. So come off of your lift. You might need to lift for your head. Feet together, knees apart. Sit back on your heels. Keep your sit bones on your heels as close to your heels as you can as you begin to lengthen forward. Extend your arms forward and rest the skull. Floor is a little far for me today, so I'm just going to take a lift. Have a folded blanket here. You can take a block, bolster, pillows, anything, and rest that under your head. You want your side ribs to gently touch your inner thighs. So if there's no contact between your side ribs and the thighs, then your knees are a little too far apart. And if you feel like you're on top of your thighs, then you want to take your knees a little further apart. You want to adjust and find that right spacing for you. And by the way, those are at home. I have a new mic today, so if something sounds weird, someone please let me know. Take your hands shoulder distance apart. You know, a little wider is fine, but not narrower than the shoulders. And spread the fingers wide and lift the elbows up so the arms are nice and straight. Jared, I take your hands a little further apart, okay? You have wide, broad shoulders there, that's it. Spread those fingers. Now, when I give these instructions, you know, there's a tendency for us to run to the maximum. How much can I do? And I want you to think more about how kindly and compassionately can I take this action? So do lift the elbows up towards the ceiling. They don't rest on the floor. They are lifting. And take the outer shoulders down at the same time. And you'll notice when the elbows lift, the shoulders come up. When the shoulders come down, the elbows drop. Lift the elbows up. Take the outer shoulders down at the same time. And do it in such a way that those actions meet at the middle. And see that you are practicing kindly, not harshly. Find that lengthening through the inner arms, through the armpits especially. Can you create more length in the armpits? From where it feels as if the arm ends and the torso begins, there's that space in between. Can you seek more length there? Not in a harsh fashion, in a kind fashion. And then can you continue that opening through the side ribs? Remember, we're seeking an evenness on the two sides of the body. Push the sits bones back and down. More back than down, to be clear. The more back they go, the more down they go. Breathe. And then come up onto your hands and knees. Take your shoulders over your wrists, knees slightly behind your hips. Have your first finger pointing forward. If you have very tight neck shoulders, turn your hands out a little bit. So you can point your first finger towards the corners of the sticky mat. It's totally fine. Press down through the balls of the first finger and thumb. And of course, you may want to prepare a chair or blocks for this. Press down through the balls of the first finger and thumb, rotate the upper arms out, but keep that contact with the ball of the first finger and thumb pressing even as you rotate the upper arms out. So neither of those can go to maximum. Again, you have to find that place in the middle, these opposite actions. This is what makes this practice yoga. These opposite actions bring us deeper to the center of us, of ourselves. Turn your toes under, straighten your legs. Inhale, lengthen through the arms. Exhale, come into the pose. Press your thighs back. Take your chest towards your thighs and take your sit bones towards the ceiling. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Have your feet at least hip distance apart. If you're feeling strain on your wrists and shoulders, well, first thing is you press your thighs back and seek to lift yourself up. But sometimes it's just not there, in which case you want to take blocks underneath your hands or even use a chair. Now there's a lifting, so lift and lengthen through the inner arms, through those armpits. Remember all that space you made in the armpit before? Can you get it back? A little harder here, gravity's not on your side, but we still are seeking that length. And then continuing that, opening that lengthening through the side ribs as you continue to press those thighs back. Yeah, that looks much better, Barbara. That was a good choice. You're falling though into your right side. Your right shoulder is closer to the ground than your left shoulder. So see if you can, yeah, play with that. Good, good. Keep pressing the thighs back and then extend from the center of the calf through the tendon through the heel towards the floor. As the outer heels go down, ensure that the outer hips go up. You become longer, taller. And then look up, walk your feet forward. And hold your elbows. If this bothers your back, you take Ardha Uttanasana. Take it halfway. You can turn around, or wherever there's a wall, you take your hands to the wall, have your torso parallel to the floor. This is a fine way to practice Uttanasana, especially if you have a sore back, if something's bothering you. Upper arms in line with your ears. If your legs aren't straight, take them further apart. You can take them as wide as the sticky mat. Sometimes you even take them beyond the sticky mat. It's totally fine. Toes forward. Lift from the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. And if Jared, if that bothers your back, look at what Bob's doing. And that's a really good version as well. Your choice. Lengthen from your inner knees through your inner groins. Move your hips towards the ceiling. Let your torso fall over your thighs. And really let your skull release. This is a forward bend. Forward bends, the intention is to be soothing, calming for the mind, calming for the nervous system. But you have to let the skull release in order to achieve that, or begin to get there. And then wherever you wind up, maybe you find peacefulness here. Maybe you're hating this, waiting to come out. Just notice where you are and begin the practice of accepting this moment, whether you like it or not. Let your arms go. Take your hands on the floor. Walk your feet back. Downward facing dog pose. Press down through the balls of the first finger and thumb. Lift the elbows up. Take the outer shoulders down. Straight arms. Elbows up, outer shoulders down. Where do they meet? Kindly and compassionately. Press those thighs back. Good, Olivia. Take your abdomen, roll it into your tailbone, press your thighs back even more. Use your abdomen to engage that. Extend the outer heels down as you lift the outer hips up. And on the exhalation now, take your chest towards your thighs. In one of the last Abhijita workshops from India, she actually said take your armpits towards your thighs. Those armpits that you just spent that time opening. Then look up, walk your feet forward, hold your elbows the opposite way. So Uttanasana, forward bend. Ut means intense pose, to be clear. Ut does not mean forward. This is an intense pose you are in. Press the thighs back. Lift from the outer knees to the outer hips. Lengthen from the inner knees through the inner groins. The flesh of the inner thighs moves back. Broaden across the lower back. Find a widening there. Sometimes we become obsessed with narrowing ourselves. And there are times we do that too. But can you widen yourself? Widen across the lower back. Widen across the mid back. Widen between the shoulder blades. Even the shoulder blades come into the bottom, but can you move them away from each other here? And then as if there are weights on your elbows, can you allow those weights to draw you down, even as you lift the hips up? Let the arms go, sweep the arms back, take your torso parallel to the floor. Keep your arms extending back, press the thighs back. You're still lifting up through the legs. Press the thighs back, arms back, chest forward. Now keep these actions as you inhale and come up into Tadasana. And Bob, coming out of forward bend, I should have said it before, I apologize that I didn't. So if your lower back really bothers you, the way to come out of Shavasana is to fully bend your legs. You take your hands on your thighs and you push down into your thighs into your hands to come up. And that's a safer way to come out when there are issues with the lower back. Tadasana, feet together or feet hip distance apart, your choice. Balance evenly on the feet. Hips over your heels. Thigh bones press back, not just the knees. Be careful for your knees, Barbara, but the thighs press back, right? So we can do shin bones forward, thighs back. Most people have heard that one before with me. The flesh of the inner thighs goes back. Okay, for those that have back issues, that's really important. And even though the beginner instructions turn the thighs in, the more precise instruction is take your awareness to the backs of the thighs and open the backs of the thighs from the inside out. That has a different effect on the lower back. So it's that the backs of the thighs open from the inside out. And when you do that, you can see, oh yeah, that kind of turns the front of the thighs in. If that doesn't make sense, then turn the front of the thighs in. All right, especially, beginners, newer people, we don't know the backs of the thighs. We can't see them. We don't have experience, and we know the front. We can say, oh, front of the thighs, they're right there. I know what they are. So we can even say, turn the thighs in, and everyone knows what you're talking about. backs of the thighs, we don't see them. We don't know the back body. We don't understand the back body. We're disconnected from the back body. It makes no sense. So if it doesn't make sense to you, that's totally normal. Turn the thighs in. But if you've been practicing for some time, open the backs of the thighs from the inside out, or at least begin the idea of bringing some awareness to the back of the legs. And as you do that, you may notice that it's easier to take the flesh of the inner thighs back. Those go together. So there's a softening of the groins. And you want to maintain that now. Remember, we're working kindly, not harshly. Even though there's a lot of work. I'm not saying there's not a lot of work. And to be clear, it is harder to work kindly than to work harshly. It's easy to go, that's easy. But to find that kindness, that's actually something that's more difficult. Lift up through the side ribs, take the front bottom ribs into your body, extend through the arms. Take your arms out to the sides. Drop your shoulders, hold your arms up from your armpits. Keep the front bottom ribs moving towards the back body. Rotate the arms up. Drop the shoulders. Notice that your front ribs came forward, take them back. Drop the shoulders down from your armpits, push your arms up. Balance evenly on the feet. If that gets tiring, you just take them down, okay? Is that from what's going on? Yeah, okay? So you just take them down, that's fine. Open the armpits. But while you are here, right, we want to bring life to that area. Open the armpits. Shoulders down as the armpits go up. Straighten the arms. Turn your hands out to the sides. Exhale, come down. Take your arms out to the sides. Rotate the arms up. Drop the shoulders. Push to come up. Ribs in, arms up. Turn your triceps towards your nose. Turn your hands out to the side. Come down. I'm doing something different. I don't teach this one very much. Interlock your fingers together, but your first finger is out and your first finger is pointing up, okay? There was a time some of you remember, I didn't have use of one of my arms. I couldn't raise it above my head. There's a pinched nerve. Some of you remember that. Some of you didn't know me back then. So the only way I could get my arm above my head was to hold it with my other hand. So I could still do the work. Even though the muscles weren't working, I could still open the joints until I got the nerve fixed. Now it's all working. So I want you to first take your hands on your head, take your elbows back, and then straighten your arms. Now, to be clear, the reason I don't teach this one as much is because for many of us, it tightens the neck here, right? So if this is tightening your neck and you don't like it, go back to that one. Totally cool. Take your shoulders down, push your arms up, open your armpits. And from your side ribs even, after you've opened your armpits, so more distance between where the torso meets the armpit and where the arm meets the armpit, more length there. And then from your side ribs, extend all the way up. So this one, Barbara, might be your choice, but in general, might be easier for you. So if I'm teaching that, you can always do this one. Hug your upper arms into your ears, everybody. Well, this is an interesting one when you got one of these earbuds in your ears. I've never done this with an earbud in my ear. Very interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. And release, turn your hands out to the side, come down. Now here's the thing, you interlace your fingers, right? What does that mean? Anybody? Two-sided pose, do it the other way. First fingers are still together. By the way, we're not going to do it today, but if you really do the whole sequence, you do the first fingers up, and then you do the second fingers up, and then the third fingers up, and then pinky fingers. That's all. The third one's actually harder than the pinky fingers to me. But anyway, interlace your fingers. There we go. The opposite way. First fingers up, hands on your head, elbows back. Do you notice how as soon as you bring your elbows back, the ribs move forward? So keep the ribs back as well, and then straighten the arms up. Shoulders down as the arms go up. Shoulders down as the arms go up. Straighten your arms to the best of your ability. And again, if you're hating this, like my neck can't stand this, that's what this one is for. Even this one, all those. That's why we have those. And yeah, the final pose is your hands are together and they're straight, but that can be quite difficult. When you have them together, there's just a different experience. You have more access to something. I don't have the words right now. But you can do it. You can try it yourself. It's quite different. Reach up. Open the armpits and reach up. And then release. Turn your hands out to the side. Come down. Now I'll do the traditional one we often do, Parvatasana. Interlace your fingers how we often do. Turn your palms out. Push the webbing of the fingers together. Did you notice as you took your arms out that your ribs went forward? For some of you, the thighs went forward too. So make sure the thighs are back, especially lower back people. Thighs back and top of the buttocks down. Thighs back, top of the buttocks down. Thighs back, top of the buttocks down, even when we're working the shoulders. Push the webbing of the fingers together. Keep the ribs in. Inhale, come up. Extend your wrist towards the ceiling, shoulders down. Soften your face. Imagine you're enjoying this. You can always turn the corners of your lips up. See, now I can see faces. Now I can see the grimacing again. Work kindly, not harshly. Release your arms out to the sides. Exhale, come down. Keep the chest lifted as you come down. Keep the armpit chest lifted, especially as you come down. Focus on this armpit chest. Interlace your fingers the opposite way. Turn your palms out. Push the webbing of your fingers together. And now come up. Watch those ribs. The ribs come forward as you come up. Open the armpits. So that space between where the armpit connects to the torso and the armpit connects to the armpit, can you seek more length there? More openness. Space for the prana to flow. Extend your wrists up, keep your shoulders down, and find a softness here, not a harshness, a softness. Now keep the armpit chest lifted. Release your hands and take your hands down. Well, that was interesting. Everyone's hands moved much more slowly when I instructed to keep this lifted, because it's the awareness. So that's something just to notice. When you notice yourself moving much more quickly, you might go, oh, maybe I did that without awareness. And what was I unaware of? Where should I bring awareness to? We're going to go back to downward facing dog. Take your arms forward, arms up. Now turn your arms up to the side, come down. Separate your feet first. Sorry. Then arms forward, arms up. So get your blocks or chair ready, whatever you need. Reach up, turn your palms forward. Inhale, exhale, come down. You can bend your knees if you have to, hands on the floor, or want to. I shouldn't say have to. Hands on the floor. Walk your feet back. Downward facing dog pose. Turn your thighs and press your thighs back. Now there's a little bit more openness in the shoulders, maybe, hopefully. Lift your elbows up, take your outer shoulders down. Lengthen through the inner arms, especially those armpits, lengthen through the side ribs. Press your thighs back. Extend your outer heels down, lift your outer hips up. But those actions of the legs, lengthening through the inner groins. And we say, again, turn the thighs and press the thighs back, but can you open the backs of the thighs from the inside out? Open the backs of the thighs from the inside out and press the thighs back. The flesh of the inner thighs moving back. And observe. And then look up. Walk your feet forward. Sweep your arms back. Extend your heart forward. Inhale, come all the way up. Feet together. Tadasana. Or feet hip distance apart is fine. Tadasana. Checking in. Using this time as a check-in. Make sure you don't stress the body. Okay, if you feel any stress, yeah, you just sit down. Okay, because that's going to be more important. Because you have to activate the healing, right? And it's your first time back in here in a long time. Child's pose is fine. Sitting on a chair is fine. Do you want a chair? Okay. Turn the mats. Turn the mats 90 degrees. If you're at home, you can turn yourself. You don't have to turn your mat. If you need more time, take your time. Yeah. You know, things are going on and you haven't been back in a while. I remember there was a time before I was a teacher, there was a time I was working in some, I used to work in television, and I got sidetracked from yoga because we had these deadlines, and I didn't do yoga for come back to the center of your mat for a good 3-4 months. I didn't take a class, and I didn't have a solid enough home practice at the time. And when I went back to class, I spent half the class in child's pose. I was dizzy. I was sweating like I had, my earbud's falling out. I had sweated like I had never sweated before in a yoga class. These toxins were just pouring out. I was dizzy. I did a pose, did child's pose, did a pose, did child's pose. So we have to take care of ourselves. That sounds like yoga class. Yeah. Oh, for those that didn't hear the joke, Bob said it sounded like when he took the first hot yoga class. I forget, we got to share the jokes with those at home. All right, Uttanasana Trikonasana. Fingertips up by your chest, bend your legs, jump or step your feet apart. Take a wide stance, so feet are below your hands or as your arms are extended. Drop your shoulders, extend through your arms. You can always, if you feel something's going on, Supta Baddha Konasana is also a good thing that you can do now, okay? And that will open all of it up. Turn your left foot in, turn your right leg out. Make sure your front heel is in line with your back arch. Press the outer rim of your back heel. George, make sure your front foot faces forward. Turn the front thigh out. Let's not step on glasses. Lift from the outer knees to the outer hips. Now keep pressing through the back heel. Inhale, exhale, come down. Press the outer rim of the back heel, turn the front thigh out. Lift from your outer knees to outer hips. Open the torso. So imagine there's a wall behind you, lean on that wall. Yeah, there's more balance if you're on the outside. Yeah. Extend those arms away from each other. Don't go down so far, Jared. You're down too far. Because you need that open chest. Otherwise, we begin to collapse. Open chest is more important than how far down you go. Reach through that top arm, pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet. Over to the other side. Right foot in, left leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Take the back thigh back. Press the outer rim of the back heel. Turn the front thigh out. Lift from your outer knees to outer hips. Watch the back foot, Barbara. Keep pressing the back heel. Keep lifting. Inhale. Exhale. Come down. Keep pressing the back heel. Turn the front thigh from the inside out. Yeah, use that block for support. Lift from your outer knees to outer hips. Lean on that imaginary wall. Rotate, allow the torso to slightly rotate. There's a slight twist there. Extend those arms away from each other. And reach up, pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet, jumper step. Fingertips up, bend your legs, jumper step. Left foot and right leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Now, when you come down, I want you to pay attention to what happens in your front hip. For most of us, it goes towards the wall behind us. Okay? So it might, we're going to work on it, but I want you to observe what's happening, not just fix what you don't see. I want you to begin to see. So press the back heel, turn the front thigh out, lift from the outer knees to the outer hips. And just pay attention as you come down, pay attention to that front hip. Exhale, come down. Well, mine went towards the back of the room. Now take your top hand on your hip. So do take that back thigh back and press into the back heel. And do turn the front thigh out and really lift from the outer knee to the outer hip, moving the femur bone into the hip socket. And then take the hip forward. Take the right hip towards the front of the room. The front hip towards the front of the room. The front of the room now where your chest is facing, right? And as you take the front hip forward, it's not, if anyone tells you square your hips in triangle pose, you can't square your hips in triangle pose. I'm not saying square the hips, but I am saying bring the right hip forward as you take the left thigh back. And I am saying lift from the outer knees to the outer hips. That will help the action, especially if that front leg, if you lift from the outer knee to the outer hip, use that energy to help bring the hip forward. Don't just take the shoulders back, Olivia. The shoulders may go back, that's fine. But taking the shoulders back is different than taking the hip forward. Take the hip forward. And then rotate the torso, extend the top arm up. Take a moment to observe. And then pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet. Take your hands on your hips. Take a breath. Other side, extend the arms, right foot and left leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Press the outer rim of the back heel, turn the front thigh out, lift from your outer knees to your outer hips. Press that outer rim of the back heel. Pay attention to where that front hip is in space. I'm not saying stop it from doing anything right now. I want you to notice what it does. Inhale, exhale, come down. Mine went back. Take the top hand on your hip. Take your back thigh towards the wall behind you. Turn the front thigh out, lift from the front outer knee to outer hip, move the femur bone into the hip socket. And then using that action, bring that front hip forward towards the front of the room, towards the front wall. And see if now you can begin to unite the back leg and the front leg. So as you take that back thigh back, the front hip is coming forward. Don't just take the shoulders back. Don't just, that's overdoing it. That's bringing harshness, not kindness. That's trying to supposedly get as much as you can out of the pose, but funnily enough, you get less out of the pose when you overdo it. You have to find optimal. We have to begin to work on optimal. When you feel you have optimal, be there for a moment. You might lose, it might be a glimpse and then it's gone. That's okay. And rotate the torso, extend the top arm up. Observe your pose. And pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet. Jump or step your feet together. Tadasana. Take your right elbow on top of your left elbow, cross your forearms, touch your palms. There you go, you got it. Take your upper arms parallel to the floor as best you can. You have to stop when your body says stop. But upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. You're beginning to lean to your left, Bob. So there you go. Rotate the wrist so the knife edge of your hand points forward and broaden across the top of the back. There you go. Throw back to my old punk rock days, although I never had a mohawk. I just hung around with people that had mohawks. And release. Take your left elbow on top of your right elbow. And yes, certainly the tighter you are on the shoulders, the harder it is. But to be clear, the bigger muscles you have, the also harder it is to get the arm over. But there's a benefit of having strong muscles and big muscles. So it's a combination of things. You have really big arms, it's going to be harder to do. And yes, you have to open as well. Upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. Rotate the wrist so the knife edge of your hand points forward. Bob, don't bring your arms over to the side so that you can see. You should be staring at your arms. And I'm a bad model of that, and I'm trying to do it because I look to see you, so I do that, and then you guys copy me. I get that. I'm trying not to see you either here. The arms should be right in front of your eyes. Broaden across the top of the back. And release. Right, it's a problem with teaching and students is that if the teacher has some sort of tick or some sort of thing that they do, unconsciously the students pick that up and think that's a part of the pose. So we have to be careful as teachers, but as students, you have to know that you might be picking up things that aren't real. Like when the teacher does this to see you, that you got to know that we're not doing something right. Or so know that there's a possibility that we're not perfect, so that you can begin to take this as your own practice. Okay, we're going to do the flying the arms out and in. Okay, swing the arms out, swing them in, right over left. If you got it backwards, totally cool. You just switch it the next time around. That's it, George. Good. Upper arms parallel to the floor. Yeah, so you got deeper this time. Upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. Rotate the wrists. Broaden across the top of the back. Move the shoulder blades away from each other. Right? It's Garudasana, eagle pose. What does the back of an eagle look like? It's really rounded. It's like it's pushing up through that top of the back. I know most poses we say pull that in. This is different. It has to go both ways. Swing the arms out, swing them back in. Upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. Rotate the wrist so the knife edge of your hand faces forward. Broaden across the top of the back. Move those shoulder blades away from each other. And release. Tadasana, thighs back. Lift up to the side ribs. Shoulders down. All right, I'm feeling the need for some twists. I don't know why, wasn't what I intended, but everyone go get a chair. Sometimes you got to follow what the universe is telling you. Ah, the old days when you can hand a chair to somebody. Back of the chair facing the front of the room. Sit in your chair with the right side of your body facing the back of the chair. So if you're in the studio, it means you're facing the parking lot. Turn that chair around, Jared. And you face the same way. So you're only second class. Shoulders over the hips. Now, even here, especially for people that are dealing with backs, notice how you're sitting here. When I sit down, I immediately begin to notice it. I didn't at the beginning, but my bottom ribs are sinking forward. The top of the buttocks is moving up. Still happens if I'm not conscious about it. So take the front bottom ribs back and take the top of the buttocks down, just to do a slight lengthening in that lower back area. Lengthen through the inner thighs, lengthen the groins, descend the flesh of the inner thighs. Now take your arms forward, arms up. As you take the arms up, just like Urdhva Hastasana, the ribs will come forward. Take the front bottom ribs back. Inhale, on your exhalation, turn to face the back of the chair. Hold the sides of the chair. Elbows up, shoulders down. I'm gonna go where hopefully everyone in the room can see me. Elbows up, shoulders down. Now readjust. Are you sticking your ribs out? Are you lifting the top of the buttocks up? Take the ribs in, take the top of the buttocks down. Lift through the side ribs. Make your side ribs longer. Soften your face. Inhale. On your exhalation, turn. So pull with your left, push with your right. Then again, inhale, lifting. Exhale, turning. Elbows up, shoulders down. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, turning. Soft jaw, soft face, soft lips, soft tongue. Inhale, exhale, come to center. Turn the other way. So as soon as we turn, we go back to our default. So as I turn, my ribs are forward, my buttocks is up. So I'm going to take my ribs back. I'm going to take the top of my buttocks down. I suggest you do the same. Do ensure that your shoulders are over your hips right now. Obviously, we're going to turn. The shoulders won't remain there, but what we're really going for is the spine being perpendicular to the floor. Arms forward, arms up. Lengthen. Keep those ribs in. Did you notice your ribs go forward when your arms went up? Inhale, exhale, take hold of the back of the chair. Elbows up, shoulders down. Right, most of us bring the elbows down and that lifts the shoulders up. So I'm saying elbows up and shoulders down. What do the elbows up also do? In addition to releasing the shoulders, it creates a broadening across the front chest and the back chest. So can you broaden there? Soften your groins. Inhale, lift, exhale, turn. Inhale, lift and lengthen through the side ribs. Exhale, turn. Soften your face. Inhale, lift and lengthen through the side ribs. Exhale, turn. Maintain that lift. Inhale, exhale, come to center. Turn around. Ribs in, top of the buttocks down, lengthen the groins. Arms forward, arms up. Lengthen through the side ribs, lengthen through the spine. Inhale, exhale, take hold of the back of the chair. Elbows up, shoulders down. Now, I've noticed not everyone, but many of the people looking to turn your head. So I want you to turn your head the opposite way. When you turn your head the opposite way, the torso actually can begin to turn further. So look over your left shoulder, elbows up, shoulders down. So it's still broadening across the front and back chests. Lengthen the groins, release the groins, flesh of the inner thighs moving down. And then inhale, lengthen through your side ribs. Exhale, turn, but don't turn the head. The head's not turning at all. So pick a spot, stare at it as you turn the torso. Inhale, lifting up through the side ribs. Exhale, turning. Of course, it's the space of your breath, the pace of your breath, not my speech. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, turning, not the head. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, turning. And then once the torso has done its optimal, then you can add the head. Inhale, lifting, exhale, at the very end, turn the head to gaze over your right shoulder. That's the last to go. Inhale, exhale, come to, maintain that lift, come to center. Don't collapse and come to center. Maintain the lift and come to center. Turn around. Ribs in, top of the buttocks down, lengthen the groin. Arms forward, arms up, lengthen through the side ribs and spine. Keep the ribs in. Inhale, exhale, take hold of the back of the chair. Elbows up, shoulders down. Gaze over your right shoulder now. So as you take the elbows up, can you broaden across the front and back chests? And then inhale, lengthen through the side ribs. Exhale, turn, not the head. So pick a point to stare at. Notice when the head wants to turn and don't let it. Inhale, lifting, pace of your breath. Exhale, turning. Inhale, lifting and lengthening. Exhale, turning. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, turning. And when you've turned optimally, not necessarily maximum, but certainly optimally, inhale, lift, exhale. Now you can turn your head, gaze over your left shoulder. Shoulders down though, shoulders down. Broaden across the front and back chests. Are your groins still released? Are you enjoying life? Inhale, exhale, come to center. Keep that lift. Some of you are still collapsing. Downward facing dog using the chair. So hands on the chair. You can put it on the edge of your mat, or you can also do it against the wall, right? So that's a nice way to do it too, because that stops the chair from moving. But the mat is fine. Hands on the chair, not in front of the chair. Now it's still elbows up, shoulders down. Elbows up, shoulders down. Press the thighs back. The heels should be on the floor here. Adjust your feet in such a way so your heels are firmly on the floor. If that means take them a little closer, take them a little closer. Press the thighs back. Don't just push the chair away from you. There's a downward action as well. Push the chair down. There's a forward action too, but it's not all forward. So you're still pressing down to the ball of the first finger and thumb as you lift the elbows up and take the outer shoulders down. Lengthen through the inner arms. Lengthen through those armpits. Remember the armpits we were working before? More space between where the arm ends and where the torso ends, or where the arm begins and the torso begins, depending on how you want to see that. And lengthen, continue the opening through the side ribs. And then use your thighs to create a traction. So your hands are down and forward, your thighs are back. You're in traction, you're creating your own traction to create length. And then look up, walk your feet forward. Sweep your arms back, extend your heart forward. And inhale, come all the way up. All right, so take the chair off your mat. Everybody in the studio get a bolster. If you have a bolster at home, you can use a bolster. If you don't have a bolster at home, I'm going to show you some different ways to do it. Some of you I know have blankets. So there's the double thin blanket, right? 2 blankets make a bolster. So okay, people are going to walk in front of the camera. That's okay, right? So this makes a bolster. 2 blankets folded like that, or towels, bath towels, maybe 3 bath towels rolled like that, or couch cushions will work too. They're a little wider, but it's going to work. So watch. you need the bolster closer to one side of your mat than the other. So I'm going to lay out a blanket as my mat. I don't always practice with a mat, but I'll show you. So imagine this is my mat. I'm going to have my bolster closer to one side. We're doing Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, or supported bridge pose, but you need this area for your head and shoulders. So you don't want your head to fall over onto the floor, right? So if I start in the middle here, as I go down, my shoulders will be here, my head's going to be on the floor, it's not going to be comfortable. So we're starting closer to this way. My heels might wind up on the floor, but that's no big deal. So watch for those that don't know what I'm doing. If you know this, you're welcome to get in and get another minute or two in the pose. But you're going to sit on one end of the bolster. You'll lie back. Now, as you go back, let your head hit the floor first. Don't keep your head up as your shoulders come to the floor. And then you scooch back until your shoulders fully touch the floor, and then you lengthen your legs. Now, if this bothers you in the lower back, you have to take something under your feet. So take some blankets or a pillow or blocks or whatever you got available to you. Another bolster is fine. And you take your heels up on the blocks or up on the lift. All right. So we can do it together now. Some of you are in, and that's great. Otherwise, if you want to do it together now, I'll instruct you as you're doing it. Sit up on the edge of the bolster, lie back, let your head hit the floor first, and then scooch back until the shoulders touch the floor. And then straighten your legs. Thighs do turn in, toes point up, especially if your lower back hurts. You need those thighs turned in. If your lower back hurts, raise your feet. If you need, you can always just bend your legs too. You still get the opening in the chest. But ultimately, you want to have straight legs, even if they are on a lift. Does anybody here in the studio need a lift under their legs? Anybody's lower back bothering you? But let the heels be on the floor. So let the heels be on the floor. That's it. Soften your throat, everyone. If anybody at home is struggling, you can also unmute yourself and ask me what you should do, or tell me what's going on. I'm happy to help you. But often it's as simple as finding a higher lift for your legs. The legs can be higher than the bolster is, to be clear. Does that feel okay, Jared? Okay. Soften your throat. That's number one. Sorry? Jen, I would still say, she asked, where do the front ribs go? So draw the front ribs, not harshly though, but allow them to descend back into the body so you're not pushing them up. But it's not the stronger actions that we might do when we are sitting, or even when we're doing the non-supported version of this pose. If you're supporting yourselves with your hands, this is a restorative version of the pose. So we don't want to create that harshness of really pulling them back, but create space for them and think them drawing back versus pushing up. Because if the ribs draw back, then there's more space for the chest itself to open. The chest begins to move towards the chin. There's more space for the armpit chest to open. So we have a tendency to put the space in the ribs. And the idea of bringing the ribs back, space has to go somewhere. Something needs to change. So when you allow the ribs to draw back, there's more potential to get that opening in the chest where the lungs are and in the armpit chest. Do you need something under your legs, Barbara? No, you're okay? Okay. So when I first learned this pose, it was always palms up, armpits open. I have found benefits both ways. So I practice with the palms up and I practice with the palms down, depending on the day. Sometimes I'll do both in the same day, but some days I need more openness, support from the universe, and then I'll do arms up. And some days I need more grounding, or I need more space between my shoulder blades, because that's where some of my pain is, and there's a tightening there and a nerve there, and I'll put my palms down, which gives me more grounding to the earth, support from the earth. And physically, for me anyway, you can choose what it does for you. Creates that space between the shoulder blades that my body needs. Yours might not need that. So you can play with it, palms up, palms down, and choose which feels beneficial for you today. Soft throat is mandatory. Soft lips, soft tongue, soft jaw. You're welcome to close your eyes here. We'll be here for a couple more minutes. Eyes rest into your cheekbones and gaze at your heart. If you're more comfortable with open eyes, that's cool. I haven't taught this pose in a while because I taught it before Minnie opened the studio, but I haven't been teaching in the studio because lack of access to appropriate props. I'm excited to bring it back because B.K. Iyengar calls this pose God's gift to humanity. There's so many benefits of this pose. You should seek to practice this every day. If not every day, every other day. If not every other day, as often as you can. If you practice this every day for 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, your life will be changed. In our last minute of the pose, we will take some control of the breath. Not a traditional pranayama, but there is control of the breath that we're going to do. So imagine that there are nostrils by your navel, just below your navel, an inch to the left and an inch to the right. Inhale through those nostrils right into your armpits. Fill your armpits with the breath and a soft, smooth, peaceful exhalation. So inhaling, filling your armpits with breath. Guide it towards your armpits, evenly on the left and right sides. And then slowly, smooth, peaceful exhalation. Now, how do we get out? Everyone bend your legs and take your feet on the floor and take your feet on either side of the bolster. So your feet are wider than the bolster. And then you can lift your buttocks up and scooch that bolster between your feet and then take your buttocks on the floor. And then cross your legs and take your ankles on the bolster. So the legs are in cross-legged pose like we started class, but your torso is lying back. So just allowing the hips to open as well. Buttocks is on the floor. Legs are crossed on the bolster. Your choice right now, whether you want palms up or down. I found benefit in both. And then change the cross of your legs. Let gravity do the work. You don't have to push your knees, thighs down, nor do you need to resist them. Just let gravity do the work. You get to be supported here. And then take your feet together on the bolster. So knees are towards the ceiling. So feet are together, knees are together. And then roll to the side and push yourself up. Take a blanket underneath your head. For some of you, a blanket this size will work better. But some of you, I'm in this category. A folded blanket like this works better for my neck, shoulders. You place that underneath your head and lie back and bend your legs into your chest. Of course, if you don't want a blanket, you can have your head flat, that's fine. But if you have a blanket there, it can be beneficial. Bend your legs into your chest, give yourself a hug. Really give yourself a hug as if you mean it. Say something kind to yourself here. Keep your feet next to each other, not crossed. Thighs descending. Groins are still releasing, even here. Find a softness, a joyousness even. On your inhalation, take your feet to the floor. Straighten your legs one at a time and let your legs completely fall away from each other. Take your arms out to the sides. Have space in your armpits. And again, traditionally, the palms are up here. But I want to give you freedom to experiment. Palms down can be grounding. It's not my favorite way to practice, but sometimes it helps me and I do practice that way. Sometimes being on the side of the hand is best. That's more Tadasana arms. Arms are in neutral. And then there's the palms up. Begin to experiment with what is appropriate for you on any given day. And don't treat each day the same because each day is different. Find a surrendering. The arms and legs surrendering. You can rest your eyes into your cheekbones. If you prefer eyes open, that's okay. But otherwise, eyes closed, eyes resting into the cheekbones. A complete journey inward. Letting the legs, the arms surrender. Letting the torso surrender. letting the skull itself surrender and allowing the brain to withdraw from the bones of the skull. Imagine your brain is getting smaller, denser. Let the brain withdraw from the bones of the skull and begin to notice all the space, the spaciousness between your brain and the bones of your skull. Let the breath breathe you. You do not need to do anything. Allow your body to be a receptacle for the breath, for the prana, for the cosmic life force. And simply allow the breath to breathe you. Become a witness for the breath as the breath breathes you. To begin slowly coming out, take a soft, smooth, peaceful inhalation and a longer, smooth, peaceful exhalation. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your nose. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor with your knees together, feet apart. Take your hands onto your abdomen or onto your chest. Allow the healing energy of your hands to penetrate your body, pierce through your layers, and heal whatever you may need healing with today. Healing can be physical, healing can be emotional. When you feel ready, pick a side, extend your arm past your ear, roll to that side. Be there for a moment, observing. When you feel ready, place your top hand on the floor in front of your heart, turn your torso towards the floor first, then push to come up, chest first, head last. Come up to sitting. You can sit up on a lift. I have my bolster here. Bring your palms together at your chest. Try your eyes back and down as you gently turn the corners of your lips up. What's different? What's changed? And let's close our practice together by chanting one collective Om. Deep inhalation. Om. Gently let your eyes open. Big smile. Namaste. Bow to the divine within you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody here. Thank you, everybody at home. For those that may have not gotten the email, check your email. It went out yesterday with some information about the opening. June 14th is our, anything can change, to be clear. We don't, but right as of now, June 14th, we will have a full schedule in the studio. We will still be, most of the classes, not the wall classes, but most of the classes will still be online. Masks will be optional. We recommend, if you're not vaccinated, you certainly wear a mask. That's what the CDC recommends. But vaccinated people, according to the CDC, are safe. But if you want to wear a mask, you're obviously welcome to. And we are excited to hug you all again.